Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. I hope the sound is okay today. I just went to use my earpods and the battery is flat. I forgot to charge them. So instead of waiting for them to charge, I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully it works out to be all right. Not as good as it probably has been, but hopefully it will do for this week. Sorry. First up, an update on the fence around the tanks. We put a couple of bits of wood behind where the breakages were in the fence to try and reinforce it a little bit after Potsy got through last week. And also put some star pickets in behind the posts to make them a little bit stronger, so when they try and push there's not as much give in them. We haven't put an electric wire across there yet for a couple of reasons. First, we really couldn't be bothered, but also because it means having to figure out how to stop it when we need to go through to get to the pump to turn on the water. So it would mean having to have a sort of a little disconnection gate kind of thing in there, which is really quite annoying, or you end up electrocuting yourself, which is not great. So we've left it without for the time being, and hopefully they just don't push through again. But if they do, then that's something that we will have to look into doing. In the 6 seasons of the Yarra Valley, we're now transitioning into high summer. In terms of heat, it doesn't really feel like summer just yet, but the things that are happening show that it is getting to that time of year, even if the heat's not quite there yet. So it's more humid. There is no cold sort of frosty mornings quite as much anymore. It's little mist on the ground, but not that really icy morning. And the grass has really started to grow long in the paddocks. So quite tall now. It went from just sort of growing well to now being quite tall waves of grass that you can see. And the birds are really busy feeding, and those two things, the tall grass and the birds, is the transitioning into that high summer time of year. I think I mentioned last week that our ride-on mower is broken. So one evening this week after the sun had gone down, I got out into my backyard and used the push mower again before it got long, so that I was able to keep a bit of a handle on it, not knowing when we're going to get a new ride-on. We have ordered one, but I don't have a delivery date yet, so fingers crossed that it will get delivered quickly. But in the meantime, we have to sort of figure out ways that we can keep up our maintenance schedule without breaking our backs all the time. So I didn't get to the grass out here by the shed. That might get done tonight if I can be bothered and if the weather's dry, because it is starting to get long now as well. So if I don't get onto that soon, it's going to be too hard to do with the push mower. And then we'll sort of be stuck with all of this tall grass around all of our buildings, which won't be great. The cows, Potsy and Preston, are now back in the stock run driveway area now that that fence is fixed. So they are keeping down the grass in the majority of the other areas around the house, except for the backyard and the areas where we've got plants that we don't want them to eat. I also planted the trees in the sheep paddock this week. I chose a spot and sort of angled them up, hoping that then that will provide shade all around and give them sort of some shelter and canopy when the two trees kind of get big enough to kind of cross with each other a little bit, so that they can really sit underneath and enjoy that space. Obviously they're very tiny right now, and we've put tree guards around them to protect them. I had to get Adam to help me with that, to wrangle the wire because it's quite hard by yourself, and also to bash in the star pickets because I'm too short to use. There's like a special ramming thing that you use, and I'm too short to even get to the top of it to be able to get the force down to be able to get it into the ground. So together we put the guards around. The sheep have been curious about them. They have sort of tipped at the ends of the trees through the wire and sort of pushed it in, so it's all sort of concaved on all of the sides now. But a week down and they're looking okay still. So hopefully just that little bit of tip pruning that they're doing on the sides of the trees will encourage the growth and will get the tree to grow up rather than out so much until it gets to a level where it will be safer and not as easily accessible for the sheep. It was really cute. One night this week, I went over to put the sheep to bed, and Potsy and Preston were standing right at the gate, and they were just having this little interaction, and it was really funny to see how both of them were sort of looking at each other. Then yesterday, I was in getting a cup of tea and I saw some random black cows in the driveway. Not just Potsy and Preston, although they were there too. I think they were kind of encouraging these other cows to be a little bit naughty. So I went out and had to herd them back into the paddock. And what I discovered was there's a little gate that's on the side of the stockyard as part of the crush, and the latch on that had disappeared. I don't know. So yeah, there was nothing holding that gate closed. So it had blown open in the wind, and a few of the cows had figured out that they could get in there, and from there they could come down the driveway. So I got them back in, but I also ended up getting Preston into the paddock as well. And then Potsy couldn't figure out why Preston was in the paddock and he wasn't, and there was running and mooing, and I had to quickly run down and call Preston and open another gate to get him out because I didn't want to get the other black cows back into the driveway again. So I was doing this all by myself in the afternoon. I think I managed all right. Everyone ended up in the right spots. But that's just one of the things you end up having to deal with on the farm when there are animals involved. I also spent a little bit of time rearranging my house again, not too much this time. I'm really liking how I now have my lounge where the bedroom used to be and my bedroom where the lounge used to be, and I'm pretty sure that that's the way I want to keep it. But I've been thinking about doing some minor renovations, so knocking out a small linen cupboard to give a big sort of square space where the bed is, and also changing the cupboards in the entranceway to like a big built-in wardrobe that's really functional and has all of the space that I need, because the other wardrobe is quite small. So I'd be able to move the stuff that I currently have in that space near the entrance into the smaller wardrobe and then have a really nice wardrobe in my bedroom. So in all of that thinking, I decided that I would sort of flip my bed. So the bed is now up against the longest wall in the bedroom, facing towards the craft room. And then I have the yarn cupboard at the end of the bed, and there's the linen cupboard that I want to get rid of. So I'm thinking what I'll end up doing is moving the yarn cupboard into the craft room, which kind of makes sense. And the black unit that I had at the end of my bed when I had it the other way, I will put against the wall that I will look directly at. And I think then put some cubes or some shelving above that for some display items, things that I'd like to see. And I think that's going to work better. It's given me a nice open space when I come in. I now have a spot to sort of sit and put on my socks or lay out clothes to put them away. Whereas when I had the bed the other way, I had the big unit at the end of the bed, which looked really nice, but didn't give me any space to be able to do any of that stuff. There was just like a narrow walkway to get into the bed on one side, and then the ramp for Wade was on the other side. So there really wasn't any space to get to the yarn or to the little linen cupboard. So this way, I've got the ramp for Wade right up against the wall in the corner, so you sort of can't even see it when you come in. So he has to go around, which is totally fine. He's got that straight away. He actually kind of knows the command go round, so he understands that, and he quickly adapted. And it's given me that space to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I'm thinking really carefully about how I want to use my space. I feel like I've lived in it for long enough to know how I live every day and what stuff I want to keep. And after coming from a really big house down to a very small place, I've pared myself back, and I now know the things that I like and the things that I value. and working towards creating that space with some different storage solutions, getting rid of some more stuff most likely, and just some different routines for myself to make things just really clean and tidy. So I'm working on being very conscious of what I'm bringing into my space, of how I use it, of where I put things, making sure that everything has a place. So I am looking at planning software on the IKEA website and looking at different storage solutions, and just thinking about different ways of using the stuff that I already have to properly put things away and to make sure that everything's really nice and tidy, because when it is, I feel a lot better. I've found that with my yarn and with my knitting that having gone through my stash and made it really pretty and easy to see, that I'm feeling a lot more creative, and it is helping to make me enjoy sitting in that craft space and taking the time. Whereas when everything was a bit cluttered and I didn't know where things were, you kind of start thinking about that and not about the craft. So I want to do that with all of my clothes and come up with a really functional living space that really just suits me. Well, it's been a while, but I actually have finished objects to show this week, so I'm a little bit excited. First, my bed socks out of the Zilana Cozy in the custard colorway. I made them nice and long. I knit them 2 at a time, so they are exactly the same. And I'm looking forward to wearing these. The nights are still a little bit cool, so they might get a little bit of wear before the season is out. And I also finished the 10-stitch baby blanket expansion. I will insert a picture here of it on my queen size bed so you can get a bit of an idea of the actual size. But here is just a corner. So you can see the original blanket there in the middle, and then I've added the log cabining in this color here, and then I've done diagonal broken rib in ocean around the outside. And then, which I really love, I found some of the original color. I had a tiny little bit of the ball left, and I bound off in that color around the edge so it ties it all back in. And I think it looks really, really great. I'm really proud of it. It's made the blanket so much bigger, so it's going to be more functional for the family moving forward, who asked me to do this project for them. So originally I had knit as a gift the small version in the middle, and then they came back to me and asked if I would add to it so that they could continue to use it because they love it so much. And I love that they loved it so much, so I was happy to do that for them. So the 2 colors in the middle are variations of snozberries. They are one of a kind that I dyed specifically for this project. The original with the sort of burnt orange, and then I also did a version with a little bit of pink just to create a little bit of variation in the color. So yeah, that is now done. The ends are woven in, and I've done my trick where I've got the little knots in each end once I wove them in so I could keep track of them all. So I just need to lay it out, wet it a little bit and block it out just to make sure it's all nice and even and that the bind off sits nice and flat. And then I will snip all the ends and it will go to the family again. Now I've been working on a secret project which I am going to record now, but you won't see it until next week because I will be gifting it during the week, and then I will be able to share it with you after that. All right, and because I cast things off, of course, there are now new cast-ons. Socks came off the needles, socks go on the needles. So this time I am doing one at a time just because I felt like doing it a different way. I tend to change it up a little bit just so I don't get myself too bored. what is it? This time I'm using Regia Design Line Random Stripe, which was a colour by K Facet. Yeah. And I started these yesterday. So I have been zooming along on these ones. It's not even a full ball. I just had a couple of balls sitting. Now that I've cleaned out my stash, I was able to see the sort of balls of yarn that were sock yarn that I still would be able to knit another pair of socks out of. So I've got another one the same as this. So I should be able to get myself a pair of socks and then have some scraps that I can put into a blanket. So yeah, zooming along on those already doesn't mean that they're going to continue to go fast, but I just had some time yesterday and it was nice to just sit and knit on a mindless pair of socks. And the next big project that I've cast on is the Yellow Brick Rodeo pullover. It's a short sleeve top, and as soon as I saw it, I just wanted to cast it on. But I've been holding off because I wanted to get the right yarn, and I also wanted to reward myself for finishing a couple of projects. So I've done that. So now I am starting this project. So it is a short sleeve pullover, yoke from the top down, and it's got mosaic pattern through the yoke, and then it just goes into the body. So I've already done quite a bit actually. I'm using Unicorn. It's a hobby yarn, and it is in this beautiful bright pink. And the contrast I'm using is Highland Handmade. She doesn't dye anymore. It's an indie dyer from America. This is a beautiful color. It's called Light Me Up. It was part of a club that I was in quite a few years ago now. And I used a little bit of it in a project, in a shawl. It was sort of like part of the edging. And it looked really, really pretty in that. And I thought I needed to find a project where it would actually really highlight it again as a really pretty contrast. And I think it's coming up really well in this because you can see the variations coming through in the little bricks as you knit. And it's been quite fun to sort of knit and discover how the colors are going to play out. So I've been wanting some short sleeve tops of knitwear because then I feel like I'll be able to wear my knitwear more of the year. And I don't have any. Well, actually I might have one, but it's in a DK, and this is a 4-ply, so I feel like I'll be able to wear it in spring, maybe into cool days of summer. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this one already. The slip stitches is pretty easy to follow. There's the two colors together. I also bought a blue solid of the same yarn. So once I finish this one, if I like the pattern and it fits really well, which I hope it does, it's coming out really pretty. I will try and find a contrast to go with the blue that does the same sort of job that this one is doing for the pink. So yeah, that's my new cast on. That's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.